Okay, so you sent over a ton of research about complaining,
Yeah.
Psychology Today, Sand Neurolaunch,
Wow.
even some stuff on willpower.
Yeah.
It's like a masterclass in griping.
Right.
So I'm guessing you want to understand not just why we complain, but what it's actually doing to us.
Right.
Right?
It seems like you want to go deep, not just like surface level stuff,
Yeah.
and you've got all the right sources for that.
Okay.
What's so fascinating is that complaining is something every human being does.
Right.
It's been with us for a long time.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a modern annoyance.
Right.
I'm picturing like cavemen complaining about their saber-toothed neighbor stealing their fire or something.
Yeah, evolutionarily, complaining served a purpose.
Huh.
Like, think about it.
Okay.
If your ancestors spotted a danger and they didn't complain about it,
Right.
the whole tribe could get wiped out.
Oh, wow.
Sharing grievances
Yeah.
actually helped them to survive.
So complaining was like an early warning system, but now it's like we're stuck in warning mode 24/7.
Yeah, and our brains are paying the price.
Really?
You know that M1 psychology article you sent over?
Yeah.
About the hippocampus shrinking?
Right.
That's not just like a catchy headline.
Right.
Stanford researchers actually found
Wow.
that spending just 30 minutes complaining
Oh, my God.
or even listening to someone else complain can actually damage the hippocampus,
Oh, wow.
which is key for memory and problem solving.
Okay, hold on. So even if I'm not the one complaining, just being around negative Nancy
Right.
can affect my brain?
Yeah, it can.
Oh, my gosh. That's kind of terrifying.
Because our brains are actually wired
Okay.
to mirror the emotions that we see in other people.
Uh-huh.
It's how we build empathy.
Okay.
But when we're constantly exposed to negativity,
Right.
those neural pathways for negative thinking
Right.
get stronger, even if we're trying to stay positive ourselves.
It's like that saying, neurons that fire together wire together,
Right.
but for negativity. The Sand article talked about that too with the ball throwing analogy.
Yeah.
The more you toss that ball of negativity back and forth,
Uh-huh.
the deeper that groove gets.
Precisely.
Wow.
So for those of us who tend towards pessimism,
Right.
it's almost like our brains are working against us,
Yeah.
making it even easier to fall into those negative thought patterns.
So complaining is more than just annoying.
Yeah.
It's literally shaping our brains.
It is.
This is really making me rethink my whole like venting session strategy.
I think the question becomes,
Yeah.
are you venting to genuinely solve a problem?
Okay.
Or are you just reinforcing those neural pathways
Yeah.
that are leading to more negativity?
Right.
Because if complaining is chronically stressing you out,
Uh-huh.
we're not just talking about a bad mood.
Right.
There are real physical consequences.
That's where the Sand Psychology Today and M1 Psychology articles all overlap, right? They connect complaining to stress and cortisol levels.
Right. Cortisol is the fight or flight hormone.
Right.
And it's really meant for short bursts, not constant activation.
Uh-huh.
You know, imagine if your car alarm was blaring 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually the battery would die.
Right.
And that's what chronic stress from complaining does to our bodies.
So we're talking about heart disease, diabetes, weakened immune system,
Okay.
all from too much negativity.
It can.
I'm starting to see why you called this fascinating.
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's also kind of motivating to learn all this.
Yeah, and then this is where we start seeing the connection to willpower.
Okay.
That Neurolaunch article you sent mentions it briefly, but
Right.
it doesn't go into much detail.
Right.
But if our bodies are constantly in this stressed out state,
All right.
it makes sense that we'd have less mental energy
Yeah.
for things like self-control and
Yeah.
making positive changes.
Right. It's like if your brain is busy fighting off imaginary saber-toothed tigers all day,
Exactly.
it's not going to have much energy left to resist that extra donut.
Exactly. So this raises the question,
Okay.
does complaining drain our willpower?
Uh-huh.
Or does a lack of willpower make us more likely to complain?
Whoa. That's like a chicken or the egg situation.
It is.
I'm really curious to explore that connection further.
Yeah.
But before we do, I think we need to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Not all complaining is bad, right?
You're right.
Like,
Neurolaunch makes a good point
yeah.
about constructive complaining.
Okay.
Complaining can be a tool for positive change,
Yeah.
but only if we use it wisely.
Okay. So how do we separate the good from the bad?
Right.
Because right now it's sounding like all complaining is leading us down this path of like brain shrinkage and chronic stress.
Yeah, well, that's where we get into the psychology of complaining and
Right.
why we do it in the first place.
Okay.
It's not always as simple as it seems.
Okay. Okay. So we've established that complaining can be bad for us.
Right.
But it's also this like natural human behavior.
It is.
So I'm ready to dive into like why we do it. Neurolaunch had some interesting insights into the psychology behind complaining.
One reason we complain is for emotional release.
Oh, okay.
Like letting off steam.
Okay, so it's like that feeling of getting something off your chest.
Exactly.
But isn't that a good thing?
Well, expressing our feelings can be healthy.
Right.
But Neurolaunch cautions that constantly dwelling on negativity can actually backfire.
Really?
It can reinforce those negative thought patterns and increase our stress levels.
So instead of feeling better after a good vent session, we might actually end up feeling worse.
Yeah.
That's so counterintuitive.
Yeah, think of it like scratching an itch.
Okay.
It feels good in the moment.
Right.
But you might just make the irritation worse in the long run.
Okay, that makes sense. What are some other reasons that we complain?
Well, Neurolaunch also points to our desire for attention and validation.
Oh, okay.
When we complain, we often hope for sympathy or agreement from others.
It's like saying, look at me, I'm having a tough time.
Right. And hoping for a little empathy in return. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, we all have a need to feel heard and understood. And complaining can be a way of seeking that validation.
Okay.
But if that's our primary motivation, it might be worth exploring healthier ways to connect with others.
Complaining can also be a way of trying to establish a sense of control, can it?
Yeah.
Like when someone is constantly pointing out flaws just to make themselves feel superior.
Right. That's another motivation the article highlights.
Okay.
By emphasizing what's wrong,
we
might be trying to position ourselves as more discerning or knowledgeable.
It's a subtle way of saying, I know better.
Exactly.
Or I deserve better, but I doubt it's very effective in the long run.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes complaining can even be a way of avoiding responsibility.
Oh, how so?
Well, it's easier to blame external factors for our unhappiness than to look inward and address our own shortcomings.
So instead of taking ownership of a situation
and trying to find a solution, we might just complain about it and feel like a victim.
Exactly. It's a defense mechanism.
Wow.
That allows us to avoid uncomfortable self-reflection.
Yeah, these psychological motivations are really fascinating.
They are.
It makes you realize that there's so much more going on beneath the surface when someone is complaining.
Right.
It's not always just about the thing they're complaining about.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it really underscores the importance of being mindful of our own complaining habits and what's driving them.
Right.
Are we genuinely seeking solutions?
Okay.
Or are we trying to fulfill some deeper psychological need?
That's a great point. So knowing all of this, what can we do about it?
Yeah.
How do we break out of these negative cycles?
Yeah.
Psychology Today offered some practical steps for shifting our mindset.
They did.
From complaints to contributions.
Yeah, Dr. Calvert suggests that we pause and reflect before we complain.
So instead of just launching into a tirade, we should take a moment to consider what's actually within our power to change.
So ask yourself, what's bothering me about this situation?
Okay.
And what can I do to make it better?
That's a much more proactive approach.
It is.
Than just like stewing in negativity.
And there's actually research to back this up.
Really?
The article highlights studies showing that self-reflection can actually reduce stress and improve problem-solving abilities.
That makes a lot of sense. So by taking a moment to reflect,
right,
we're not only addressing the complaint, but also empowering ourselves to find a solution. I like that.
Yeah.
What other strategies does the article suggest?
Another key strategy is practicing gratitude.
Okay, I've heard a lot about like gratitude journals
right,
and like the benefits of focusing on what we're thankful for, but I'll admit I've always been a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
Does it really make a difference?
Well, research suggests that it does.
Okay.
The article cites a study by Watkins, Woodward Stone, and Colts, which found a direct correlation between practicing gratitude and increased life satisfaction.
Interesting. So even if we're dealing with difficult situations, taking time to appreciate the good things in our lives can actually make us happier.
It can think about it.
Yeah.
If we're constantly focused on what's wrong, it's easy to lose sight of all the good things we have.
Right. But by shifting our attention to gratitude,
right,
we're training our brains to focus on the positive that makes sense.
It's about rewiring those neural pathways for happiness, just like we discussed earlier.
Right.
And it's not just about feeling good.
Okay.
There's a ripple effect.
What do you mean?
The Psychology Today article also talks about identifying our unique strengths.
Okay.
Recognizing our strengths can help us channel our energy into meaningful action.
Right.
Instead of getting bogged down in what we can't do.
So if I'm always complaining about being a terrible public speaker, I could instead focus on my writing skills and find ways to contribute through that avenue.
That's a great example.
Okay.
It's about playing to our strengths and finding ways to make a difference that align with our natural abilities.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about turning complaints into opportunities for growth and contribution.
It is.
What other advice does the article offer?
Well, Dr. Calvert emphasizes taking small, purposeful steps.
Okay, so it's not about trying to change everything overnight.
Exactly. She brings up James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, again, which emphasizes the power of tiny, consistent changes over time.
Right. It's about setting ourselves up for success with manageable goals.
Exactly.
Not overwhelming ourselves with trying to be positive all the time.
Precisely, small changes lead to sustainable habits.
Right.
And that's what creates lasting change.
That's really encouraging. Even if we have a tendency to complain, we don't have to feel defeated.
Right.
We can start small and build from there.
Absolutely. And every step we take in the direction of positivity is a victory.
Okay, I love that. So what about the people that we surround ourselves with? Does that play a role in our complaining habits?
The Psychology Today article is very clear on that energy is contagious.
Okay.
If we're constantly around negative people, it's going to rub off on us.
Yeah, I can see that.
But if we can find people who are positive, supportive, and focused on solutions, their energy will inspire us to do the same.
So it's about choosing to be around people who lift us up and encourage our personal growth.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's about creating a supportive and inspiring environment for ourselves.
Yeah, we've all experienced the drain of being around chronic complainers.
Right.
And we've also felt the energy boost of being around positive, encouraging people.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
It does.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the evolutionary roots of complaining to the psychology behind it, and even some practical strategies for shifting our mindset.
It's been fascinating to see how complaining connects to so many different aspects of our lives.
Yeah, but the most important takeaway for me is that we have the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges. We're not victims of our circumstances. Right. We have the agency to make a change.
And to connect it back to that question we posed earlier about willpower.
Yeah.
Perhaps cultivating positivity and gratitude actually gives us more willpower to make those positive changes.
It's like breaking free from a negative spiral and stepping into a positive one.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to explore that willpower connection even further.
I think it's worth diving into.
Yeah.
After all the more we understand these connections, the better equipped we are to make choices that lead to a happier, healthier life.
Okay, so we've explored like the science and the psychology behind complaining, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest question on my mind right now is how does willpower fit into all this?
Right.
It's mentioned in a few of these articles, but it's never like fully explored.
It is a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that researchers are still trying to understand fully.
Okay.
Does complaining drain our willpower, leaving us feeling depleted and less likely to make positive changes?
Right.
Or does a lack of willpower make us more prone to complaining in the first place because we feel powerless to change our circumstances?
It's like that chicken or the egg scenario again.
It is.
I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Well, let's consider some possible scenarios based on what we've learned from your sources.
Okay.
Imagine someone who's constantly complaining about their job.
Okay.
Maybe they feel stuck, unappreciated, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
All that negativity is going to take a toll on their mental and emotional energy, right?
Absolutely. It's like their brain is just stuck in this loop of negativity.
Right.
Replaying all the reasons why their job is terrible. That can't be good for willpower.
Exactly. If their willpower is already depleted from dealing with all that negativity.
Right.
They're less likely to have the energy or the motivation
to
take any positive action.
Right.
They might think, why bother looking for a new job?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be just as bad.
Right.
So in that scenario, the complaining is draining their willpower.
Right.
Making it even harder to break free from the situation that they're complaining about.
Makes sense.
But let's flip the script.
Okay.
Imagine someone who's generally low on willpower.
Right.
Maybe they struggle with procrastination, self-discipline, following through on their goals.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
This person might be more susceptible to complaining.
Yeah.
Because they feel a lack of control over their lives.
Right.
They might complain about things they feel powerless to change.
Right.
Further reinforcing that sense of helplessness.
So in this case, it's the lack of willpower that's fueling the complaining.
Exactly.
It's a way of externalizing their internal struggles.
Exactly. And the more they complain,
right,
the more they reinforce those feelings of powerlessness.
Yeah.
Making it even harder to build their willpower and make positive changes.
So it's almost like this vicious cycle, whether you start with low willpower or excessive complaining.
Right.
They just feed into each other.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And this is where all the strategies we discussed earlier become even more crucial.
Okay.
Building our willpower through practices like mindfulness, gratitude, setting small, achievable goals could actually help us break free from this negativity loop, regardless of where we enter it.
It's like we're strengthening our positivity muscle.
Exactly.
So we can resist the urge to complain and just take action instead.
I love that analogy.
Me too.
Yeah.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have gained a whole new understanding of complaining.
Yeah.
Not just as an annoying habit, but as something that's deeply connected to our brains, our emotions, and even our willpower.
Absolutely.
And remember, it's not about becoming some Pollyanna who pretends everything is perfect.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those moments when a complaint is about to bubble up.
Right.
And making a conscious choice to respond differently.
To ask ourselves, is this complaint serving me?
Okay.
Or is it draining my energy and preventing me from taking positive action?
It's about choosing to focus on solutions and gratitude, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And the more we practice these positive habits, the easier they become.
Yeah.
And the more willpower we have to create the life we want.
Right.
It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
But it's one worth taking.
I couldn't agree more. This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
And I'm
feeling really inspired to make some positive changes.
That's great to hear.
Thanks for helping me unpack all this.
Of course. My pleasure.
Until next time, everyone keep those complaints constructive.
Yeah.
And those minds open to new possibilities.